It's funny because I'll often say that I don't like cheese all the time on something like a hamburger, but when it comes to biscuits, I love cheesy biscuits. So today, I'm going to show you how to make Pepper Jack Biscuits with a Honey Sriracha Bacon Jam. So first thing we got to get done is get our ingredients mixed together, and we're going to do the wet and the dry separate before we mix everything together. We're starting here with a cup of buttermilk, and to this I'm going to add 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. And we're going to mix this together here. All right, that's good. Let's move on to our dry ingredients. So here we're starting with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To this, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of white sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of a coarsely ground black pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. Use any chili powder you like, cayenne, dark chili powder, anything you want. And we're just going to mix these together. Now today I'm doing these in the oven at 450 degrees. You could do these very easily out on something like the pellet grill, because you can get that temperature up there and hold it, or any grill that you can get up to a 400 to 450 degree temperature. That is really a sweet spot for these biscuits. All right, we're going to add our wet ingredients now. And we're going to mix until nothing dry is left showing. We want everything looking moist. That is looking pretty good. You can see our dough is holding together. No dry spots there. Now I'm going to fold in pretty gently about 1.5 cups of shredded pepper jack cheese. This is a jalapeno pepper jack. You can use any sort of cheese you want really, but these are pepper jack biscuits. These are very cheesy biscuits. All this cheese mixed in there. You're going to have some loose pieces of cheese. That's okay. Everybody's going to melt when we get in the oven. All right, that's looking good. Let's get these onto our baking tray. So I've got my baking tray here with some parchment paper on it. The oven is preheating, and I'm just going to use a scoop to put our biscuits on here. And because this is an oval scoop, I just want to sort of press these down a little bit. And here you can go ahead and just form these a little bit if you want. All right, let's go ahead and get these in the oven. Our biscuits are going to go for about 10 minutes and we'll check them. We want them to be golden brown. They may go a little longer. But while those are baking, I want you to see how to make the Honey Sriracha Bacon Jam. I like to make it a day or two ahead, so I made it a couple days ago. Check it out. So this bacon jam, pretty simple to make. It does take a little bit of time though to help develop those flavors and caramelize the onions and everything. So let's get going. And I'm starting with a whole red onion here. I'm going to cut this in half. And I'm going to take out that core from the top, about the first 2 or 3 interior layers. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a pretty traditional large dice on this. These pieces don't have to be tiny. All right, there's our onion. Let's move on to our bacon. Now the bacon I'm using is just a kind of semi-thick cut hickory smoked bacon, about 1 pound of it. And we're just going to chop this up into smaller pieces. We're just going to work our way through the pile here and cut things smaller. All right, there are our bacon pieces. Let's head over to the stove and start making this jam. All right, I have my pan on my stove here and I'm going to get the burner going at about medium heat. I'm going to add the bacon and I'm going to cook this down until it is almost crisp. Now, you know, if you've watched enough of my videos, I like my bacon a little more floppy, AFS, acceptable floppy state. But for this, it does need a little bit more of that crispness. It does need to let more of that fat out, because we're going to be reserving some of that bacon fat as we cook our onions and everything else here. Get my bacon in here. Is there anything better than that sizzle accompanied by that smell of hickory smoked bacon cooking? Oh. All right, I'm gonna let this go, let this cook, let it get that crispness, release all the fat here. Probably gonna take anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes. All right, we've been going about 7 minutes here. We're starting to get that darker color that we need for this. You can see we've got a lot of fat rendering out, and that's exactly what we want. We're gonna save that when we start with our onions. All right, I'm gonna let this go a few more minutes, then I'm gonna take this off, get the bacon out of there, drain that fat and save it, and then we'll move on to our onions. All right, so I drained the bacon fat from the pan. There's still a little bit in there and some bits of bacon. We're just gonna leave those. Those just add flavor. I'm gonna go to a medium-low heat right now. I'm gonna add back about 2 tablespoons of that bacon fat, bacon grease, whatever you wanna call it. And we still have more that we can add if we need to. I'm gonna go ahead and add the red onion that we chopped up. And what I'm gonna do here is just let these slowly cook, soften, and start to caramelize. We'll be adding some other ingredients in a bit, but I wanna get that caramelization process started with these, just in there with some of that bacon fat. And I can see that I do want to add a little bit more bacon fat right now, so maybe another couple tablespoons. Now we don't want these to really sort of brown and get crispy. We want to let this happen slowly. So you want to make sure that you do stir this. Every couple minutes, give it a stir. We've been going 12 minutes now, and we're just starting to get some nice caramelization on this, softening up nicely. So I'm going to reduce the temperature now down to almost completely to the lowest setting, and I'm going to start adding our other ingredients. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, about 2 tablespoons of sriracha sauce. Now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vinegar. I'm using a maple vinegar. If you can't get that, go ahead and use an apple cider vinegar. It works just as good. I just really like the flavor of this maple vinegar. Finally, about 2 tablespoons of honey. We're going to add our bacon back in. Let's mix everybody together. And you want to try and spread all of this out. Doesn't have to be flat, but just give, everybody some good contact with the pan, or at least close contact. I'm going to adjust my heat up just until I can start to see things moving, then I'm going to lower it and keep it just right there. I want things barely moving in there. There's a lot of sugar in here now to help us make this jam. We don't want to burn it. And it is important at this stage, every couple minutes, give it a stir, flatten it out. This can take anywhere from this point on 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I went 45 minutes once doing this. So yes, it takes some time, but the results are going to be amazing. If when you're doing this, it ever starts to look like it's drying out, you can add a little bit of apple juice, even water if you had to, but apple juice is great. Maybe a tablespoon at a time. That just helps re-moisturize everything. So I'm just gonna keep doing this, stirring, watching it, and I'll bring you back when it's time to give it a final check. All right, we've been going 30 minutes here, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. Everybody's got some of that nice, almost like candied covering on them. The consistency looks good. Let's take a quick little taste. You've got sweet, you've got heat, and you've got bacon. Those 3 things are perfect together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off here, let it cool for a little bit. It's going to go in a container. It's going to go in the refrigerator overnight, and we'll be ready to go. All right, we've been going 10 minutes. Let's see how we're doing. Looking good, but we still need more golden brown on that top. You can just see little bits of browning happening. So I'm gonna let this go another 2 to 3 minutes before I take this out and we move on to topping these with our Honey Sriracha Bacon Jam. Let's go ahead before we put any bacon jam on here. Let's open one up. Oh yeah, nice and hot. There is so much cheese in there. I just love this. That cup and a half of cheese, and if you want more, you can go more or you can go less, but I love cheesy biscuits. So let's get some bacon jam on here now. No one's escaping the biscuit. Get back on there. And this is really good to spread on here once you break the biscuits open. I'll probably be doing that too. I don't know, the biscuits are right here. They're hot. I'm ready. It's time to taste. So let's go. Oh yeah, super cheesy flavor. And with that pepper jack, that jalapeno pepper jack, you get a nice bite from it. I'm gonna put a little more of that Honey Sriracha Bacon Jam on here. I think if I was doing this again, I would go 1 minute more. Just a slight amount of doughiness right at the center, but it's really hard to tell because there is so much melted cheese in there. Every oven is different. Yours may take 10 minutes, yours may take 12, yours may take 15. Mine ended up taking about 13, and I think if I'd gone 14 or 15, would have been perfect. A little more color on top, but I'm actually happy with this. I don't like them to get too brown. Oh man, those are good. And like I said before, you could do these out on the grill, the pellet grill especially, because that's like an outdoor oven. If you can get that temperature to 400 to 450 degrees, you're gonna be able to do great biscuits out at the grill. But if you can't, the oven works great. So if you like bacon, and you like cheese, and you like biscuits, taking a little bit of time, putting all those ingredients together, making some great pepper jack biscuits with a Honey Sriracha Bacon Jam to top them, this is the perfect accompaniment to a meal, and I gotta tell you, it could be a meal in itself.